So I figured giving this video's subject, it'd be appropriate to film it with my new hair. What do you think? I don't know if it's showing up properly on camera, but it's kind of like a goth highlighter. That's what I've been calling it. I'm very excited about it. I think it turned out really well. I mean, I know I said in my last video that I wouldn't be dyeing my hair because I got piercings instead. I just decided to do both. So I got my piercings up here. So I've got this, you can't see it because it's kind of difficult to see on camera, but I've got this weird patch of root, which is fine because I'm blonde, so it looks a bit weird, but you know, I did both. So I'm not going to go through every single hair dye I've had because A, we'd be here for hours, and B, I don't think I have photographs of everything. And just so you know, as I previously mentioned, my natural colour is blonde and my hair is very resilient. It's very easy for me to go like white, which people hate me for, and I'm sorry, but it's very easy for me to go white. Bleaching my hair is easy, my hair is very resilient. Removing colour is quite easy for me, aside from like blues, they stick in my hair, which is why I've got random green tints in here, but that's fine because I like green. Also, I'm going to list the dyes I used in each particular hair dye, or hair colour, or dye job, whatever you want to call it, so that you can know what kind of dyes I used and what colours specifically, because I know it's really hard to find a particular colour sometimes, or the colour you want, and it might help you out. So nowadays, in my old age, I mainly use direct dyes such as Lariche Directions, Adore, and I've just tried Manic Panic for the first time. This one. I think it turned out quite well personally. I've also tried Crazy Colour, but I'll get into that later. I started off my colourful hair dyeing adventure in 2013 by getting my hair professionally cut and dyed because I had no clue what I was doing. I'd just come out of high school. It was actually like 3 days after I left high school that I was like, yes, I'm doing this. Told my father that I was just getting some like highlights. I wasn't. I went silver and purple, though I suppose you could consider that highlights. Pretty much the only photograph I have at its prime is bad and cringy because it was taken on a BlackBerry in 2013, you know, 7 years ago, almost 8. That faded out, and I think that was Joseon dyes, I'm not particularly sure. I used a special effects dark blue dye over it, and honestly I really wasn't a fan. Like, I heavily researched what I was doing, and I've always heavily researched stuff. I thought special effects would be pretty good, and it wasn't great. It washed out really quickly. I don't think it agreed with my hair. Might have worked for other people, and I never used special effects again. Then we move on to 2014. I had no idea what to do with my hair realistically, and I had no money to go to a hairdresser because I was in college. I wasn't working. I'm still not working. I don't know why I said that, but I had no idea what to do. I used a black box dye and went mainly black with purple streaks at the front and like my fringe, using Directions Dark Tulip. Yes, I know, it hurts my soul. I have never used a box dye again. I never would. Naturally, getting that out was an absolute bitch. I mean, that was awful. I damaged my hair quite heavily. I managed to like save it, you know. I didn't get a chemical cut. Have had those before, because that's part of the learning process, you know. This is all a massive learning curve for me, but I managed to get my hair back to neutral, and then I dyed my hair multicolored, as you do. And this particular hair dye look that is on screen currently is from the storytime video, which will be posted before this one. Oh, and welcome to my wonderful braces. Had them for about 3 years. My teeth are so straight now. I had to have 4 teeth removed for them. Still got those teeth and the wisdom teeth that I had removed. It's really weird. Like, I asked the doctor, like, can I keep these? And he was like, we're not supposed to. And I was like, can I keep these? And I was like, sure. Absolute legend, that. I custom mixed the majority of the dyes myself. I used some Crazy Colour and some Directions. I believe it was a while ago. My memory with dyes is actually pretty good though. I did leave a bit of blonde for some reason. It was like blonde with colourful streaks. It was 2014. I have no idea what I was doing. After that, I went all over pink using Directions Flamingo Pink. I figured it might be helpful if I show you the kind of colours, like it was this kind of colour. I also added purple in the underlayers. I'm not entirely sure what I used. I then removed that. I went green and purple. It was Directions Apple Green and Directions Plum. I believe. September 2014, I said fuck it and went back to massively multicolored and used God knows how many dyes. I mean, in my last one I used like 12, I think, so I've always been like this. I think the majority of between 2014 and 2015 was multicolored, however, I can't find many photographs. Unfortunately, this is a terrible photograph of me. I may blur out my face, I haven't decided yet. But it's the only good one I can find of this hair colour, and I love that dyeing so much. I then moved into halls and went to uni and kept up with the multicolored hair. Do you see why I said I wasn't going to go through every single dye? Because there aren't enough photos, I don't think. And realistically, like that's a long time. We don't have time. You don't want to sit through all that. Nobody can be bothered. I can't be bothered, and it was me. During the first 2 or so months of 2016, I went through quite a neutral phase of like silver and lilacs. I think one of my flatmates off in halls asked if she could dye my hair and she decided to go lilac. It's very odd for me to only have one colour in my hair. I mean, I've got 2 dyes in currently and this feels kind of naked, so like. Then in February 2016, I went back to different colours. Naturally, it's what I do. Just as I started my piercing collection with my septum. I'm now 26 piercings in. By March and April 2016, I was massively multicoloured again. In June 2016 was flamingo pink with my newly pierced nose. Also, my hair starts to get shorter at this point. I like short hair. I've kind of gone into this like short hair thing. I used to like really long hair, now I like short hair. July was faded flamingo pink, and it was during this time that my mother's health crisis started, so dyeing my hair was mainly like a secondary thing for me because a dying mother took priority for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I am joking. My mother and I have a very dark sense of humour. If you want a story time about that kind of thing, let me know, because I have some very dark story times. Like medical story times. Then my father's wedding came around, and naturally I went massively multicoloured again. Are you noticing a trend? I used God knows how many dyes. I had bright green at the front, which was Adores Electric Lime, which is a really good green dye. Like, you know the bright, like, it looks quite dark, but it turns out really brightly. I had pinks and purples and all of that in. It was very fun. The photographer for the wedding loved my hair. I used mainly Directions dyes with the Adore Electric Lime, which I mentioned, and Crazy Colour. I used Crazy Colour's like lilac-y one. It was like a really nice kind of purpley one. It was really pretty, looked nice. It started to fade massively after one wash because I went down to visit my father 2 weeks before the wedding, which means I had to dye my hair before that, so my head had survived 2 weeks before the bloody wedding. And this dye started fading the moment I got there. I freaked out so badly. I have never used Crazy Colour again in my life. It is the bane of my existence. I dislike it. I was pretty sick at this point, because if you don't know, I've got fibromyalgia, yay me, but that makes dyeing my hair and the upkeep kind of annoying. So at this point in 2016, I wanted easy hair, if that makes sense, like 2 colours, 3 maybe max, not much. So I went all over flamingo pink and then just let it fade out. And then I re-dyed it flamingo pink and violet for my Fallout cosplay, both of which by Directions. 2017, as I previously said, once I started to get sick, I preferred to do sort of easier dyes, stuff that'd be easier to re-dye and easier to upkeep. So although I do love the incredibly brightly coloured 28 different dyes in my hair, I do tend to keep that for not all the time. A lot of the photographs I have from this time and even now, sort of I'll have some massively multicolored like my previous dye, but then this one's a bit more manageable. I then decided to use Directions Lagoon Blue all over my hair, and blue is my favourite colour, so it suited it quite well. Then I went through kind of a phase of doing sort of all over blue hair dyes, but with turquoise and green sort of in amongst it, and sort of alpine green and things like that. Towards the end of 2017, I reset my hair, which is what I call going back to blonde. I reset my hair and then I went fluorescent pink with Directions Carnation Pink, so this is Directions Carnation Pink. I think they changed the formula because when I used it for this dye in 2017, it went like fluorescent pink, a paler version of this, but still as bright. However, when I use this dye now on white hair, kind of like pastel pink. So I think they've changed the formula. I think this was 2018. I used Directions Carnation Pink again all over. It was so beautiful and UV reactive, and that was right before a date as well, so it could have gone terribly wrong. I mean, imagine if like I've redyed my hair before stuff, but it doesn't generally compute through my brain that if this fucks up, it's bad. Then that faded out and I added blues and purples to underlayers. You see, there's a lot of dye. I've been doing this for 7 years, there's a lot. June 2018, I went back to blonde so I could do a really multicolored look again for my godfather's wedding. For the actual hair dye I used for the wedding, I used lagoon blue, denim blue, plum, Adore electric lime, as well as a few subtle pinks at the back so it would like come through. At this point I had quite long hair, it was about down to here curled, so it was like, after this I started college and I went back to pink and then I got the fringe back. February, I went red for the first time and I used Directions Poppy Red and I loved it. I thought it looked gorgeous. It was such a pretty colour. However, it washed out to dark pink after one wash. So that was a shame because I really liked that. And I never went red again. March 2019, I was on to orange. Orange is one of my favourite colours to go. I almost went orange this time. And the oranges I always use are Directions Mandarin and Tangerine. Tangerine is a dark one, Mandarin is that like bright orange. Then I moved on to Directions Plum and then on to Midnight Blue and Denim Blue. In September, I decided I wanted to have short hair for the first time in about 4 or 5 years. So I redyed my hair half pink and half orange using Directions Carnation Pink, Flamingo Pink, Mandarin and Tangerine and got my hair cut. And honestly, it was really weird, but also really fun at the same time. From there, I went multicolored again. Then I went back to dark purple, which is the darkest hair color I'll ever pretty much go at this point. 2020. We're finally in the current year. I've never properly done green hair. I wanted to do like a mixture of forest greens and turquoise and mints with like a couple little like bits of sort of greeny blues in there. When I was looking for dyes for this particular look, I came across Adore's Sweet Mint, which I fell in love with. It's this one. It looked kind of dark in the pot, but it comes across this really cute sort of minty colour. So I did that and it was pretty cool. After that, I went back to a more blue-based palette and used Adore's Sweet Mint at the front of my fringe here. Then of course the pandemic happened, so I haven't been dyeing my hair as much as I used to. I used Flamingo Pink, Violet and Lagoon Blue, and I think I kept that for about 2 months before moving on to bright green with Flamingo Pink and Adore's Electric Lime. Then back to my favourite colour, using Lagoon Blue, Midnight Blue and Denim Blue, which finally brings us up to date with my last 2 hair dye colours. Considering I was starting my 3rd year, I wanted to use a lot of different dyes. I actually took some photographs of this while it was like French plaited, and I'll put some up because it shows a lot of the colours that you couldn't see from the front. I used Lagoon Blue, Carnation Pink, Flamingo Pink, Violet, Plum, Rubine, Denim Blue, Tangerine, Mandarin, Sweet Mint and Electric Lime. So 11 dyes in total. Go big or go home. We're now on to my latest dye. I've never properly used yellow dye before. I've had like a couple small streaks of Directions or something, one of Directions yellow dyes, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it, so I wasn't sure about doing more yellow in my hair. But I've always wanted to do like a bright yellow, and it was basically the only colour I've never used, aside from like brown. But that's never gonna happen, so I found 3 pots of Manic Panic's Electric Banana in town for £5, so naturally I bought them all. Plus, I've never tried Manic Panic before, so I was really excited about that too. But I was also kind of apprehensive considering my past with crazy colour. Like, from Directions, I know what to expect, I know what my hair's going to do, I know what it's going to look like, but not when it comes to a dye I don't know, you know what I mean? I also used Directions Flamingo Pink on the other half of my hair, the combination of which created the goth highlighter that you see before you. Honestly, I'm really impressed with how this turned out. I think it looks really good. I've always been quite wary about using yellow, just in case it looked kind of washed out or faded, which I don't think this one does, so I'm quite happy with that. But this looks sort of beautifully bright and toxic, and I really want to try out more Manic Panic dyes. Let me know what your favourite hair colours are, and about your hair dye adventures. I hope you have a good day. Toodle pip.